let's just go for it. So,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
hi, Puppy. Thanks for coming on,
Hi,
having
Michael.
this conversation with me. So, like just some backstory. So we met on Lunch Club, right?
Yep.
And just like tell me about your kind of your grad school experience, but what I'm most curious about, and I know that other folks that are in a career journey and kind of upskilling and looking for opportunities could really benefit from the way that you've approached your search, and then also how you've approached the graduate program. So just tell me about it.
Yeah. So I graduated with a statistics degree, and then to be honest, I didn't know what I wanted to study. I just go for it. And then after I graduated, I still didn't know what I want to do.
Yep.
So I just go for it, whatever job I could find. And I ended up in a gaming company. And then, yeah, after a while, I moved on to Uber. And then after a while, I moved on to another company called Sleepy Insights.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I first encountered a great company culture, to be honest. And the teammates, they are very accommodating, very positive. They help each other. And that's the first, firsthand experience as the startup culture. And I really, really loved it. And that's when I thought I wanted to do that, data operation and project management forever. And then after like almost 3 years, I realized, okay, I actually don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to be able to combine my interest in data, in business, but also, get a pinch of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I started to, reach out to people about what they do and then learn more about their experience, and then have a sense of what I want to be in their job. And that's when I discovered product management. And I realized, okay, this sounds, amazing. I will be able to do everything I like all at once and
Mm-hmm.
try to, combine everything, and then, yeah, just to make a fusion of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I ended up in a master program because I felt like, okay, I'm lacking something. And also at that time, my visa is expiring. So I need to, maintain my student status.
Okay.
So yeah, I continue studying, and then I ended up quitting my job last year because I really want to jump to a different career path, but it is not working without an actual experience. So I quit, and then now I join a nonprofit as their first and only associate product manager. So yeah, they are essentially a small startup that, try to help children with chronic illness and then connect them with volunteers to have amazing lessons together. And what I'm doing is to, build the technology platform to connect them. So right now I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, but also learn by doing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great, I mean, there's so much that's exciting there about how you evaluated what you were doing. One of the things that you mentioned that's intriguing, it would be great to unpack a little bit, is this idea of the culture at the startup. I believe it was after Uber. There was something different about that culture. I'm hearing that it was collaborative. Did I hear correctly?
Yeah, I mean, in Uber, it's also a great startup, but it has become really big, and it's not getting a sense of team for me. I mean, comparing to the company I joined later. So yeah, collaborative, and then you see a lot of different people like Asian Americans, Spanish, and then there are so many people, and then so diverse, and I feel like, okay, I'm in a tribe that is that makes me feel really comfortable. It's not like, okay, everyone around me are all white men like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you weren't the only one, and there was something about that that created a level of comfort and a sense of belonging. So it sounds like this last company was kind of authentically diverse, and we talk about like diversity and the idea of inclusion and belonging. And in my work, we try and measure belonging in terms of access to projects, not being the only one, which you mentioned. What else fostered the sense of belonging for you? I'm really curious about it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that my managers, he happened to be the director, like the highest position in the department.
Okay.
And he is very good at listening, active listening. He will listen to what you are saying and what you are proposing to help, resolve any problems. And yeah, he was a great role model for me. If I ever become a manager, I think I am deeply affected by him. Active listening, care about you. I mean, he is really strict. He wants you to get your job done, but he make it clear that he will do whatever he needs to, help you to unblock anything that's not making sense.
That
Yeah,
is
and
that's so exciting. That's so exciting.
yeah.
So this idea of active listening is something that I've applied in management and leadership. I was the CMO of a cybersecurity startup, and then I also had this nonprofit executive background. But I first was introduced to this idea of active listening in grad school because I studied counseling. And active listening is a principle of like the therapeutic process, right? And there's also this technique, have you heard of, called the broken record, where you restate back what you heard? Yeah, like you're an excellent communicator. And the coolest thing about the story about this manager was that he clearly is driving on business objectives, right? I mean, you said he held you to your work product to a very high standard, but he balanced you feeling heard with driving the business forward, and you felt seen and heard. I mean, you probably did exceptional work. That's exciting to hear. And that balance, sometimes I'm hearing from some clients who don't see investing in active culture as related to business objectives. This is part of what I'm trying to draw out, is these little mini case studies of saying, hey, leadership can actually thrive when you see both, right? High expectations and listening actively, whatever that might look. It might be about additional support. What other aspects of that job, or it sounds like also you see some skills that you're going to carry on if you move into a management role yourself. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so the first thing came to mind is you have to show first. If you expect highly of your direct report or your entire team, you have to show them that you are also that hardworking. You expect high quality, then I produce high quality. So I become a measure of quality for the entire team. Only then I have the authority to ask you to do the same, to measure up. If I am the manager and I'm not doing the same and I keep asking of you, I think people will sense the gap and they will disengage and eventually hurt the performance or stuff like that.
They will sense the gap in doing as I say versus not doing it, not walking the talk. They'll sense that gap and they'll disengage. And I've seen it before too. There's a loss of credibility as a leader, and it can happen among colleagues as well, right? Where people will talk about a certain practice or an effort level, but we won't see it in practice. And
Yeah.
how might that connect to an environment that feels welcoming and inclusive? I mean, let's brainstorm. What are the threads there?
Yeah. So because the manager, the director, showed us how hardworking he is, and then he is not lagging from what he wants of us. We kind of become it's a bad word, but we become a cult to follow his lead and try to make sure we finish everything we have to, but go above and beyond. So I think that's really a culture created by the director, and then all the managers he promoted from individual contributors are also the ones that take the job so seriously, and then be able to help others, and then so it's like a keep helping others culture. And the more you help others, the better chance you can get promoted, because you've done that, you go above and beyond, and you keep helping your teammates to get to the goal and even exceed it.
Yeah.
So it's like a positive circle that keep rolling and rolling.
I totally feel that. I was just thinking the same thing. There's a virtuous cycle that's happening there, where the ethic of helping others is adding to productivity, but also like team cohesion, right? It's bringing people together. And then the final step, or maybe the next step in the process, is that the behavior that's rewarded with more kind of power and responsibility is a collaborative behavior, rather than, I heard this term today called the toxic rock star. Have you heard that before? It was the first time that I had heard it.
I kind of get it.
Yeah, I kind of get it too. The idea that there are people that are high performers, but I mean, how to say it? Like they're exclusionary, they're judgmental, they're probably internally competitive, right?
Yeah.
And the interesting thing too is that we have so much more measurement about team dynamics and business performance than we did, 5 and 10 years ago. And we can actually measure teams and organizations where employees, they report a culture of belonging. And then you look at measurement around innovation, you look at turnover, right? And who's quitting, who's staying. And they outperform on these key metrics. So that's I'm just like, and we didn't even like plan to talk about, we hadn't talked about this past job before, but I think we both just got curious about it. So that's exciting. That's exciting. It's like an embedded inclusive work experience, and I'm super excited that you got to have that. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to move to product. So that product piece is more about you doing some internal discovery and saying, hey, I've learned one set of skills, but I want to apply them in another way. And what is the next 6 months look like as you finish your program and then kind of look to get into product?
Yeah, so I'm working with this nonprofit, so I'm hoping to really help them build the platform and release it to all the families we have. And I think I'll start looking for jobs for starting next year, but I will continue working with this nonprofit part-time, because I really feel driven by their mission. And I really like the people there, because the team culture is also amazing. Even though they are small and they are nonprofit, it has a really great startup culture feel.
That's inspiring.
I would say.
That's inspiring. That's inspiring. So I want to make sure that I share the name a startup based here in San Francisco that
Mm-hmm.
connects developers that are looking for social impact projects with
Mm-hmm.
project opportunities.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's kind of like a shared ripple. So we'll talk
Mm-hmm.
about that later, but that could be a way when you start to scale back your time or offboard to try and onboard
Mm-hmm.
another developer to make sure
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that product keeps growing even when you have moved on to something else.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, well, gosh, like what else, what can I do to kind of be helpful for you as you move forward? And then I also, before we go, I wanted to get your feedback on
Mm-hmm.
the change model that we've built,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
and just see how you think that aligns. But what, is there anything that I can do as you kind of think about the next couple months?
Um, I know you are very experienced in like career coaching and mentorship, and I guess that might be something I'm hoping, to get more experience with. Um, how to become a manager in the future and how to, be better at communicating with people. I think that's kind of my weakness. Yeah.
I would not say it's a weakness at all. I wouldn't say it's a weakness at all. I think that you've got a great balance, and then you've had some great experiences that have built a foundation too. So I think you're going to do extremely well.
Thank
All right,
you.
well, let me share this really quickly because I
Mm-hmm.
want to get your feedback on it.
Mm-hmm.
And this I just built a case study out of a project that we have operating right now. But
Uh-huh.
this inclusive culture framework, I wanted to try and create a visualization of how we do this work. And I thought it could be kind of interesting to see what we talked about in this
Mm-hmm.
cycle and
Oh yeah.
see if it actually practically has worked for you, right? I want to
Mm-hmm.
pressure test these models, right? So we begin with
Yeah.
curiosity, and then there's a skills and knowledge building process.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of practicing together as teams, actually practicing skills, like you mentioned, active
Mm-hmm.
listening.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal, which what I heard several times that you shared, especially in your most recent role and with the nonprofit, is
Mm-hmm.
that there are trusting relationships. And this, we
Yeah.
haven't used the phrase yet, but psychological safety is a big part of what we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
in corporate culture. And that's really what I'm
Yeah.
hearing. So
Mm-hmm.
how does this kind of framework, does it seem to fit with the experience that you have at the nonprofit and with your last organization?
Yeah. I mean, I've just realized I leave out the most important part,
Ooh, tell me.
trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If there is no trust, nothing will be, amended or pushed forward.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, when I joined the team at my last company, we have a lot of trust. Everyone rely on each other to, ask questions and answer questions. We can help each other no matter what. We know we won't get judged. And that trusting relationship is so important
Yeah.
to, expand to other stuff. And then that was one of the reasons why I left the company and then joined this nonprofit. Because when there is a crack in the trusting relationship, it will manifest to other teams or the entire organization.
Mm-hmm.
So that crack didn't actually happen within my team, but it got manifested from other places, and then it became unbearable. So I think, yeah, trust is the number one thing in a cycle, a positive cycle. If trust is missing, the cycle will be broken, and then other things will be falling into pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm glad that that's, kind of a core part in the model. I'm glad that I spoke to it. It's, my experience and then also research and looking at the data. I agree with you. I think
Mm-hmm.
that trust is key. I think that
Yes.
I'd like to think that trust can operate a little bit like a wave, and that there can be peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought, and I want to get your opinion, that if there is a valley and it's a period of low trust, a lot of things can happen. The biggest thing is stress and anxiety leading to poor communication,
Yes.
a lack of active listening. And if we enter in a low period of trust, I don't know, what do you think? Because you have good instincts about management. What do you think about what are the opportunities for leaders and their employees to rebuild trust? In your case, you didn't feel that it could be rebuilt, but are there situations where you could see yourself investing to rebuild trust?
Yeah, so like similarly in product management, for example, if you have privacy issue with your product,
Mm-hmm.
it will take so much time and effort to rebuild the trust, because that type of breach is kind of unforgivable.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends on what kind of trust issue we are experiencing.
Sure.
We have to first identify, okay, what's wrong, what's not, what people are not trusting. For example, is it the mission? Is it the leadership? Is it about a person? Then we have to, find a problem first and then see, okay, how we can resolve it. If it is about a person, it might be because communication misalignment or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it about a company direction or mission? Then, there should be a leadership or executive happy hour or office hour that have people, come in freely and then communicate about, okay, what's going on. We are not having a peace or trust in this. Are you going to address it? Or is there any way we can, find a better understanding to navigate through the situation that causes a lot of anxiety and stuff like that?
Yeah. It's interesting that there's a couple different experiences that New Sincerity has designed, and we talked about some of these. One of which is there's a video storytelling approach that we use when we have dialogue, like you and I are having now, but it serves as that open house type of forum. What we're trying to do is humanize not just the work but people. And sometimes the conversations around our personal lives get a little silly, a little contrived, like, what is your favorite ice cream? But if we can get a little bit more creative about how we spend our lives outside of the world of work, that's that relationship building component. And with a trusting relationship, we can have these conversations about psychological safety and get into challenging topics like unconscious bias and do some more of that heavy work. I just believe that this trusting relationship, when it's at the foundation, those conversations can happen. They can happen organically, and people can be a little bit more human to each other. And and I think the research is proving this out. The challenge is that we have to, in some ways, for example, restructure meetings to actually do a little bit more co-creation and co-leadership of meetings. I don't know, were you ever asked to lead or co-lead a meeting in any of your roles?
I think so, but it's not so high level. It's basically within our team and some other teammates. Not that, okay, I'm co-lead with an executive or my director or something like that.
Okay. But was it still impactful for you to know that you owned part of a presentation to, even if it was within a team that you're familiar with? Was that ownership something that that made you feel kind of empowered and part of a deeper part of the process?
Yeah, I think every time I have to, talk in front of people, even though I get so nervous, I feel valued, and it's a opportunity for me to connect with others, to communicate, whatever I put together. So yeah, I think those moments are amazing, even though scary.
Yeah, I think like you're an exceptional communicator. You really are. And I
Thank
think that
you.
also like the other interesting thing about what we're doing here is
Mhm,
when I share this with colleagues and people, the partners at New Sincerity and with clients, what
mhm,
one of the things that I know is going to inspire folks is your ability to think thoughtfully about the human part of the work and the business, and then the ambitious part about working hard, getting the job done, and quality. And you live between those both of those experiences in a really really healthy way. And by that, you're actually modeling a way of being and a way of collaborating that is it's part of this foundation of inclusion. So big high
mhm.
five to you.
Yeah, thank you.